Welcome to Tai Chi, Joy Through Movement. I consider this to be the third, potentially most important aspect of my private practice sculpture life. I am truly grateful that you're interested in learning more about this beautiful practice, and I'm even more grateful to be the vehicle for your deepening understanding. Many people mistake Tai Chi for Tai Chi Chuan, the martial art, which literally translated means supreme ultimate fist. And although Tai Chi Chuan is very graceful and the movements are very slow and beautiful, Tai Chi Chuan is also very powerful. I've heard several accredited Tai Chi instructors and Justin Stone, the originator himself, tell of an incident only a couple of decades ago in Tokyo when a number of Tai Chi Chuan masters surrounded a building that needed to be brought down and literally leveled it with their chi. No wrecking ball required whatsoever. Both practices are considered Tai Chi practices, and they are both derived from Qigong, which is in some ways the father of all energy balancing practices. And they both have a lot of visual similarities, but the literal translation of the name Tai Chi is knowledge of the supreme ultimate. It's very, very different from the martial art. It's not a martial art, it's not a religion, it's not even an exercise, just simply a moving meditation designed to activate, circulate, and balance your Qi. And here in the West, we give very little credence to the concept of Qi, but in all ancient cultures, it's universally accepted that Qi is the intrinsic energy residing in everything, not just every living thing, but literally everything. It's inside of all of us. We're born with it. It surrounds us. It connects us to one another and the cosmic consciousness. And balancing Qi has always been considered the secret to a long, healthy, and happy life. Tai Chi Chuan is a couple of thousand years old, but Tai Chi is only about 50 years old. Justin Stone, who I mentioned a little bit ago, a Tai Chi Chuan master himself, which is actually quite unusual for a Caucasian, was also a university professor of Eastern Studies and Meditation, and he originated Tai Chi in 1974 after spending close to 2 decades living in and traveling broadly in China, Japan, and India. He lived in Buddhist temples, he lived in ashrams, he studied every ancient spiritual discipline with this century's most respected monks and sages, and was a highly respected man himself in several continents. He was feeling frustrated when he came back to the United States to return to his Tai Chi Chuan teaching practice, that it takes in excess of 5 years for most Tai Chi Chuan students to experience any sense of health benefit or certainly any sense of mastery over the very complicated 108 movements. And he literally dreamed up what he first thought would be warm-up movements, several warm-up movements to speed along the Tai Chi Chuan learning curve. But when he showed those movements to his students, they literally felt such immediate effect, increased joy, increased happiness, lowered pain, lowered blood pressure, just to name a few of the many, many benefits. He realized he had inadvertently stumbled upon something entirely different. So even though Tai Chi Chuan and Tai Chi are brothers, and they both stem from Qigong, they are really entirely different types of Tai Chi practices. Unlike Tai Chi Chuan or any of the martial arts, Tai Chi is easy to learn. Literally anybody can learn it. It doesn't require a particular level of fitness, age, coordination. Literally anyone can do it. Consisting of only 19 movements and 1 pose, it literally attracts the widest possible audience because even people with physical limitations can perform all the movements, even if you're seated with very little modification. And in fact, several accredited teachers have taught classes of paraplegics who have been able to accomplish all of the movements right from their chair. No special clothing or equipment is required. The soft, slow movements have, as I mentioned earlier, an immediate effect on blood pressure and other physical aspects, but everyone's experience is different. Most students feel even more far-reaching effects of the practice so quickly that profound changes can occur even in just an 8-week beginner's course. In the last few years, a number of high-quality medical studies have come out of UCLA, AARP, the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health, which is a division of NIH, listing all kinds of positive changes from regular practice, including decreased arthritis, decreased COPD, decreased depression and anxiety, higher quality general aging, higher quality weight loss, immune system function increases, increased energy, pain relief, increased peace, increased joy. But feel free to visit www.taichicha.org or www.tccommunity.net for more information on all of the current medical studies. But let's talk about a few of the basic movement principles involved in Tai Chi Cha. The first is relaxation, which is really, really challenging for many, many people that I have worked with, and indeed many people in the United States. The only way that Qi can flow freely is through complete relaxation. Even the tiniest bit of tension literally constricts the flow of Qi up and down the meridian channels. Scientifically, we know this is true because Chinese surgeons routinely perform even neurosurgery using only acupuncture for anesthesia. And acupuncture, just like Tai Chi Cha, opens up blocked meridian channels, thereby decreasing pain and illness. Softness and continuity and circularity are also two very important principles in the movement patterns of Tai Chi Cha, since these are the primary ways that the body can actually relax. And the best way to relax and apply these principles is to always imagine that you're swimming through very heavy air or moving as if in a dream. And always the movements come to what we like to call a graceful conclusion. You can often see, from my perspective, how flexible a student is by watching their wrists and their waists. If their wrists are able to move very, very easily, almost as if through very heavy air, and if their waist turns very freely with no constriction, then it's very easy for me to spot a student who is truly applying that flexibility principle. And Justin always said that it's far more important how you move than what you move. One of the ways that Tai Chi Cha improves health is by mixing the heart fire with the kidney water, which dries up aqueous excesses in the body. Therefore, it often has the effect of causing practitioners to lose weight. Although this is another Chinese medical theory that sounds pretty mystical, we also know that even under healthy conditions, the body is made up of about 70% water. But carrying around too much body fat causes general inflammation as well as cellulite, and cellulite is mostly water trapped in adipose tissue. So it makes sense that anything which dries up excess water can also help us lose weight. The easiest way to mix the heart fire with the kidney water is to concentrate on the soles of the feet. By doing so, you're actually accomplishing a number of things. You're drawing the energy down through the Dumo meridian, which is one of the largest meridian channels in the body, and it runs from the crown of the head right down the center of the body through the Dantian, which is our energy center, or the sea of Qi. Theoretically, it's about 2 inches below the belly button and about 2 inches in. But here's my model of the human pelvis. And I love the fact that it's shaped pretty much like a bowl. So I often tell my students to visualize that the dantian literally resides in this space within the bowl of the pelvis. The Dumo Meridian channel also splits at the legs and runs down to the feet. So when you're focusing on the soles of your feet, you are literally drawing that energy from the top of your head away from your over-busy monkey mind, down through your dantian, really the heart of you, down your legs, and ending up in what we like to call the Chih, or the bubbling springs. So you're connecting yourself to the cosmic consciousness at the same time that you're drawing your energy down and mixing the heart fire with the kidney water and moving from the dantian, all at the same time, which is also another very important principle in Tai Chi. Generally speaking, we do Tai Chi movements in multiples of 9 because the Chinese believe that 9 is a sacred number. Before and after each movement, we come to a graceful conclusion and we ground ourselves. And we do that with slightly soft knees, slightly bent, so that the weight is evenly distributed across the entire bottom of both feet, and the tailbone is tucked slightly under. And we complete the grounding by high-fiving the earth. You can consider your hands resting on balls of energy if you like. Many practitioners report that they feel almost a pulsing sensation when they're in the grounding position, but everybody's experience is unique. Chih is highly activated and circulated during the movement portion of the practice, so grounding not only settles and balances the Chih back down, it also allows us a few moments to plug back into the cosmic consciousness and enhances our connection to all things. When learning Tai Chi, it's best to follow the DVD until you know the entire practice by heart, or you can simply learn the movements a few at a time, as if you're taking a class. But the most important thing is to practice. The Chinese have a saying that you cannot appease the appetite by reading the menu. You really need to eat. So practice, even if just for a few minutes a day, even if you only like one or two of the movements, even if you can only remember one or two of the movements. The beautiful thing about Tai Chi is that the effects are cumulative. So even just a few minutes a day can make a profound difference in your life. So we're going to begin with rocking motion. From the grounded position, take a small step to your left. Your feet can be pointing more slightly forward than they would normally point, about hip distance apart. You're going to let your hands literally fall and turn over. And as you come to the balls of your feet and your legs straighten, your arms float up. As you come down on flat feet, your arms flow back, then just your toes lift. Forward and back. So your arms are literally coming along for the ride. All movement is from the dantian down. As I come down on flat feet, my legs are bent, my toes come up, my legs are bent, now my legs are straight, and my heels lift. Bent legs, straight legs up, bent legs, straight legs, heels up. And we come to a graceful conclusion. So we're going to begin by getting into the grounded position with feet in a slight V. Whatever feels comfortable for you is fine. And remember, knees are soft, as if someone came up right behind you and just touched you in the knees to soften them, to bend them a little. And your weight is evenly distributed under the soles of your feet, tailbone slightly tucked under, and then simply high five the earth so that our palms are open and the meridian channels up and down your arms can flow freely. To begin rocking motion, which is one of the preliminary movements, almost a warm-up movement for Tai Chi, we take a small step to your left, and your toes can be a little more slightly forward than they are in the rest position, about hip distance apart. And you literally let your hands drop, hands turn over, and then you come to the balls of your feet as your legs straighten. As you come down on bent legs, they straighten in the back and the toes rise. The arms are literally coming along for the ride. All movement is emanating from the dantian down. And I love this movement because it almost reminds me of riding on a swing as a kid, an old-fashioned board swing. They don't make those anymore. And you get it moving by rocking your pelvis. Balls of the feet, heels lift. Heels of the feet, toes lift. And this is the last one. We come to a graceful conclusion and settle down into the rest pose. The second preliminary movement is called bird flaps its wings. From the rest position, we bring our palms close together. And remember, our wrists are always flexible. So when our hands are together in this position, the fingertips are literally hanging down. You might actually feel what we call polarity between your palms in this position. Some people experience it to be almost a pulsing feeling or a tingling feeling or maybe some heat. Everybody's experience is different. As we sink and come to the balls of our feet, our wings are going to flap out to the side. So we sink and flap and come back more slowly than we sank. Sink and flap. And on this third movement, our hands are going to circle 1.5 times. We're going to repeat the sequence 3 times altogether. So this is the second rep with 3 parts. And this is the third. And we come to a graceful conclusion. So now that we've completed the preliminary movements, we're into a series of forward and back movements. And this is a great time to bring up another principle of proper movement in Tai Chi, which we affectionately call in the community proper yinning and yanning, which really has a lot more to do with the way energy flows out of one part of your body into another and then back again. Kind of like waves on a beach. If you think about it, waves come up out of the water, wash up on the sand, and there's a moment in time when they change directions. They don't actually stop. They literally just change directions and then flow right back into the ocean. It's very, very circular if you really think about it. So I'd like you to keep that type of movement in the back of your mind as you learn these lower body movements. So proper yinning and yanning has to do with moving from one leg, the substantial leg, the weight-bearing leg, the yan leg, and then flowing into the other leg, the yin leg, and back again. The way that we do that from the rest position is literally sink down into one of your legs and extend the other leg, almost as if you're about to dip your heel into very hot water and you don't want to burn yourself. So you don't take a big step, literally just extend your leg. And then as you flow forward from the dantian, your energy will flow out of this leg and into the front leg, like so. And then back again. So I'm moving from the substantial leg into the front leg, which is now substantial, and then back again. As I flow forward, the rear leg straightens and the heel lifts just enough to slide a credit card under. As I flow back, the front leg straightens and the toes lift. It's very, very simple and no work required at all. All from the lower body. And you might also notice, if you place your hand on the dantian as you flow forward, the skin under your hand actually expands, and as you flow back, the skin under your hand actually contracts. So we are indeed flowing from the dantian, our energy center. And when you're done, you literally pull the front leg back as easily as possible. No work involved. When we're moving in this way, proper yinning and yanning, you're actually doing a number of things. You're staying grounded because you're very clearly in the soles of your feet. You're flowing from the dantian, our energy center. You're moving in a very flexible and tension-free way. And most importantly, you are out of your head, not in that monkey mind, taking a break from all of that extra unnecessary activity up here. So the first forward and backward movement is called around the platter. Let's discuss about how big your platter is. It's about the size that you can hold. And you'll note that I'm holding my arms at a very comfortable position at about heart height. So that's where your platter is, and it's level. When you're moving your hands around the outside edge of the platter, remember that your wrists will be nice and flexible. That way your arms won't have to do a lot of the work. You'll be moving more in your wrists than in your arms. And your arms will come along for the ride, much like they do in rocking motion. So from the grounded position, we're going to sink into the right leg and extend the left, hands up to the level of the heart, and as you flow forward, your hands are going to circle. And you always know which direction your hand should circle by noting which foot is out. If my left foot is out, my hands are going to circle clockwise. But if my right foot is out, my hands are going to circle counterclockwise. Stay focused on the soles of your feet. One more. And come to a graceful conclusion. With the right foot out, you're going to sink into your left leg, extend your right foot, hands to the level of your heart, and flow. When I'm in the back position, my hands are at about 6 o'clock, and here they're at 12. Continuous circular motion. Focus on the soles of your feet. One more. Come to a graceful conclusion. The second forward and back motion is around the platter variation. It's almost exactly like around the platter. We're going to begin exactly the same. But when my hands get to about in front of my shoulder, my fingers simply lift, but my wrist stays on the platter. And as I flow forward, my fingers release. It's as if I pick up a ball of energy that's no longer serving me and then let it go. Almost a circle within a circle, because my wrist stays on the platter. Stay focused on the soles of your feet. One more. Come to a graceful conclusion. Other side. Many people like to visualize picking up something that no longer serves them and then letting it go. Stress, drama, anything that's keeping you from joy, anything that's limiting your movement. Focus on the soles of your feet. One more. Come to a graceful conclusion. The third movement is called bass drum. Just imagine a big old high school marching band bass drum right out in front of you. And your fingertips are going to circle around the edges of the drum. Your hands will be about a foot apart. Some of my students like to practice with a paper towel tube. It helps them be very mindful of the hands staying at an equal distance, no matter where they are around the edge of the drum. And remember that your drum is round. And remember that your drum isn't so big you can't see over it, or that would be a lot more work for your arms, wouldn't it? Big old high school marching band bass drum. Also note the flexibility in the wrists. As your hands circle down, the wrists literally hang down. And as your hands circle up, the wrists literally come back. So your fingertips are mostly pointing towards the ground at the bottom, and mostly pointing towards the sky at the top. You might also feel that sense of polarity in this movement that we discussed in Bird Flaps Its Wings. Many people report that it's very powerful during this movement. So from the grounded position, sink all your weight into your right leg, extend your left, hands come to about the middle of your body, flow forward and circle around that drum. This may be one of the most popular movements in Tai Chi Chih. Many people have a very clear understanding of where their dantian is when they're doing this movement, because as your hands come back, the dantian kind of gets out of the way. Last one. Graceful conclusion. With the right foot out. Focus on the soles of your feet. Last one. Graceful conclusion. The next two forward and back movements are really companion pieces to each other. Daughter on the mountaintop and daughter in the valley. If you ever find yourself not having time for full practice and you decide to do just a few movements, if you ever do one of these two movements, make sure you do the other. The first one has the effect of sort of unzipping your chi or opening you up. And the second one, daughter in the valley, has the effect of sort of zippering you back down again. So from the rest position, sink into the right leg, extend the left. Simply turn your palms over. And as you flow forward, your wrists will climb a little mountain, a Pocono mountain, not a rocky mountain, like so. It's almost as if you're going to clap your hands, but then you miss the clap. My left hand is closer to the heart. And as I flow back, my hands drop. But at the top, the backs of my hands are actually facing each other. And you might notice I'm making two intersecting circles. Last one. Graceful conclusion. With the right foot out. Funny thing about this movement is, even when my right foot is out, my left hand is still closer to the heart. I don't know why. Justin Stone used to say he didn't know why he had 5 fingers. I think it's the same thing. Focus on the soles of your feet. Last one. Graceful conclusion. In Daughter in the Valley, hands start high in order to move down low into the valley. We're going to sink into your right leg, extend your left foot, bend your arms to a comfortable position. Your hands will begin to flow forward and then you flow forward into that front leg. Hands rise and you're in the front position and they separate as you come back into your back leg. You might really feel polarity here. So it's important to keep your palms facing each other as long as possible. Otherwise you might give yourself a Chih facial. And a splashing of Chih in the face. Last one. Graceful conclusion. With the right foot out. Focus on the soles of the feet. Last one. Graceful conclusion. Now we're into the side-to-side movements, but this is a great time to review the principle of yinning and yanning properly. When we're flowing forward and back, you're moving from a rear leg to a front leg and back again. When you're flowing from side to side, you're simply sinking all your weight into one leg, placing the other foot out, and then flowing into that leg and back again. But let's look at the waist for a minute. Let's pretend that you have a flashlight attached to your dantian. So here's our flashlight beam. As I flow over to my left leg, notice that the flashlight beam is scanning the rim a bit, almost making a bit of an arc. Another example of the principle of circularity. So my waist has a lot to do with what's going on in my lower body. And the arms are simply going to come along for the ride. As I sink into my right leg, I'm going to load up on the right. Small step to the left, and as I flow in that direction, my arms circle. The waist turn is moving the arms. And on this third circle, the trailing right foot comes in to meet the left. So we're going to make 3 movements in that direction, and then come back and make 3 movements in this direction. So from the beginning, load up or spiral down with your arms on the right, small step to your left, flow and circle. Trailing right foot comes into the left. Small comma here. Trailing right foot comes in. Full weight shift. Trailing right foot comes in. Small comma. Load up on the left. Flow and circle. Full waist turn. Trailing left foot comes into the right. Relax. Focus on the soles of your feet. Last time. Graceful conclusion. Now we're back to 2 forward and back movements. The first one is called push-pull. But there's no pushing and no pulling involved. That would require work. So you're going to sink into your right leg, extend your left foot, bend your arms to a comfortable position so your hands will probably end up pretty much in front of your shoulders, and as you flow forward, your hands float, and then they float. You may notice that your hands are making a slightly elliptical shape. Another example of that principle of circularity. Your hands flow forward until you're in the front position, and then they turn over and come back to the starting position. Last one. graceful conclusion. With the right foot out. This is a wonderful movement for stress or anger management. Simply let go of stuff that's no longer working for you and pull in more of what is. You can enhance the Chih balancing in this movement by just placing a little thought in the hand that's opposite the frontward foot. Call this opposite hand emphasis. Last one. Soles of the feet. The next forward and back movement is called pulling in the energy. It's just like around the platter, only your hands are going to circle around the underside of the platter. So hands start here and move around the underside of the platter. And while you're circling your hands, you're going to visualize energy from the most distant star flowing into your fingertips. Very energizing movement. Justin always warned us to never do more than 9 repetitions of this particular movement. It can be too energizing. So from the grounded position, one more. Graceful conclusion. With the right foot out. Last one. And since we're on the subject of really energizing movements, it's also important to remember that Tai Chi does in general have a very energizing effect. Unlike exercise, which often can be experienced as exhausting, Tai Chi practitioners almost always experience a real lift in energy after practicing. So it's wonderful to practice first thing in the morning. If you practice after dinner, you might find that you cannot sleep. And also because it's so energizing, you might find that you don't feel so well if you practice on a full stomach. So it's probably best if you practice on an empty stomach as well. Now we're into 4 related side-to-side movements. They're all variations of what we like to call pulling taffy. And they can be the most powerful movements involving polarity between the hands. So we're going to sink into the right leg, and as we do so, the left hand is going to come over, right hand will simply drop down onto the forearm of the left arm. Left foot out, and as we shift to the left hand comes over, and then we ground. Shift to the left side, right arm comes over, Right leg comes out, shift right. Many people feel this is almost like winding up to throw a frisbee. Here comes my frisbee. Now I'm going to throw the frisbee to the right. So I wind up on the left. And take a look and note at what the upper hand is doing. When I shift left, my right hand grounds. When I shift right, my left hand grounds. And we come to a graceful conclusion. Anchor taffy is called anchor taffy because even though we're shifting forward and back, the rear heel actually doesn't lift in this movement. It stays anchored to the floor. So I'm going to load up as if it's a regular taffy. Take a small step to the front, so my left foot will appear to be slightly pigeon-toed in this position. As I shift forward, the hands separate and then come back. The second half of this movement is winding up just like for regular pulling taffy. Shift left and ground. Wind up on the left side, right step forward, little pigeon-toed step, and ground. Wind up on the left again. Shift right. Many people report a really strong polarity feeling between their palms as they pass each other. See if you feel the same. Graceful conclusion. The next variation is called wrist circles taffy. We're going to sink to our heels and then rise just to the balls of our feet as our hands circle. Sink and rise, sink and stay down, and wind up as if it's regular pulling taffy. Little comma. Sink to the heels, rise to the balls, sink and rise, sink and stay down, wind up. So I'm not actually coming up into a calf raise, I'm just straightening my legs and come to the front of my feet. Sink into the heels, sink and rise, sink and stay down. Graceful conclusion. The last variation of pulling taffy is called perpetual motion taffy, and it is simply that. Pulling taffy without stopping. We're going to sink into the right side, extend the left foot, and when the hands get about hip distance apart, they turn over and load up again. But notice that I'm actually not doing any work in this foot that's lifting. What's lifting that foot is the waist turn. As I get fully into my left leg, my right heel lifts. As I get fully into my right leg, my left heel lifts. This movement is reported to give the most amount of heat between the hands. Next time your hands are cold, give it a test. Graceful conclusion. The next movement is the only both forward and back and side-to-side movement with a waist turn. It's called working the pulleys, and it's almost as if you have two old-fashioned clotheslines, one on either side of your body. They each have a pulley in the front and a pulley behind. So, from the rest position, you're going to simply turn your right hand over as you sink onto that right leg. Raise your left hand and extend your left heel. As you flow into that front left leg, your left hand is going to flow forward, and your right hand flows back. See if you can visualize my fingertips trailing around those pulleys. It's not like swimming. It's more like throwing a pie with an open palm. Maybe it's a Chih pie. Look how the waist turns. Last one. Right hand waits at the shoulder for the left hand to catch up, and they fall together. On the other side, flow into the right leg, the right arm comes forward. The waist turn is what enables me to move my arms around with no pain in my shoulders. Remember, no work in Tai Chi. It's okay for your heels to pivot a little bit. They have to if you're really fully turning your waist. Last one. Left hand hovers at the shoulder, right hand catches up, and they fall together. The next movement is called light at the top of the head, light at the temple. It has two parts. So we're going to start from the rest pose. Sink down, scoop up a little bit of Chih, and bring it all the way up your body, all the way up to the crown of your head. Fingertips pointing towards the sky. You're going to sink into the heels of your feet, rise to the balls, and your hands separate just a little bit. It's almost like you're contracting, expanding. Now you're going to rotate your wrists about 6 seconds. Now hold your palms close to each other. Feel that polarity for about 6 seconds. Now we're going to sink and rise, sink and rise 3 times. Sink and rise, circle arms all the way around. Scoop up a little bit of Chih, fold it in on yourself, and come to graceful conclusion. Part 2. Pick up a little bit of Chih, bring it up to your temples, contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, expand, circle forward about 6 seconds. Hold about 6 seconds. Now contract, expand, contract, expand, contract, circle around, Scoop up a little bit of Chih, hold it in on yourself, and come to rest. The next movement is called joyous breath, and it's the only Tai Chi Chuan movement that involves a very clearly prescribed method of breathing. So we're going to take a small step to your left. Feet can point almost forward if you like. You're going to exhale all the air out of your lungs through your nose, and then inhale very deeply through your nose as you rise towards the balls of your feet, like so. Now your hands will come down in 4 specific pieces as you exhale through your nose. And we do that 3 times. I'm going to start from the beginning again so you get a full feeling for the movement. The next movement is called Passing Clouds, and it is a side-to-side movement, and the only Tai Chi Chuan movement that begins with a step to your right. So we're going to load up on the left, take a small step to your right. As you glide or flow into your right leg, your left hand is going to circle around. Scoop up a little bit of Chih, and then pass that cloud in front of your throat. Full waist turn is what brings the arms around. It's not a waving of the arm exercise. The waist turn is moving your arms. Last one. Step back to your left. Come to rest. The next movement is called 6 Healing Sounds, and before I show them to you, I need to give you a brief Chinese spiritual history lesson. There were 2 very strong influences in Chinese history, spiritual history, Confucianism and Taoism. Confucius was very much concerned with social justice, and Confucian monks spent a great deal of time out in the world. Taoist monks, on the other hand, were mostly concerned with their position in nature and in the universe, and they spent a great deal of time meditating and living in caves and putting themselves in touch with all things within the cosmic consciousness. And so therefore their bodies would become exposed to great hardship, and they would often fall into disease. But they discovered over the course of many centuries that if they chanted certain sounds and combined them with certain movements, very much like Tai Chi Chuan movements I'm about to show you, they could not only make themselves better, but they could actually enhance their health. So the 6 sounds are the following: ho, hu, su, like tsunami, sh, shi, shui. And they're actually aspirated from the diaphragm, and when done properly, they're almost inaudible. So we're not shouting the sounds. It's literally aspirating from the diaphragm, almost as if you were a singer. And here are the movements that go along with, from the rest position. One more time. The monks found that these sounds actually corresponded to different body parts. It's not that important to know exactly which body parts were affected by each individual sound. There are several different schools of thought on that. But I promise you that if you practice the 6 healing sounds, you will indeed enhance your own health. The last movement for Tai Chi Chih is actually not a movement, it's a pose called the Cosmic Consciousness Pose. And it's most easily accomplished by placing your heels together. Simply lift the left heel and place it on your right ankle, and you might find that it's easier to sort of cock your pelvis forward a bit so that you're maintaining equal weight on both your feet. Raise your arms to about the level of your throat, fingertips overlapping, and the left hand is closer to the heart. And simply relax. You can hold this for as long or as short as is comfortable for you. It's a great time to visualize our connections to all things. Perhaps you can envision roots growing down through your feet until they begin to touch each other, and until they begin to branch out and touch everything else. Or perhaps you can envision energy, almost like an umbilical cord, coming out of your head, up into the skies until it spreads out and touches everything else. And again, I'd like to express my most sincere gratitude to you for your interest in Tai Chi Chih, which is truly joy through movement. And I'd like to end today with my hands in the universal sign of gratitude and by saying Namaste, which means the light and the goodness within me greets the light and the goodness within you. It's a term of acknowledgement and respect. Namaste.